It's a special day. They're all special, but this one's even more special because Judd Mercer is here. Judd, what are you going to do for us today?
We're gonna simplify a pretty complex forest scene in
That's easy
gouache.
for you to say. Forest scene.
Yeah,
And so this will apply to any medium, right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's more about the thinking, but we'll illustrate it in gouache today.
You're going to use gouache today. Okay.
Yeah,
So what do you think are the keys to simplification?
yeah. I mean, thinking more in shapes versus objects is the big thing. And then as big of zones of light and dark. So in the scene there, we're going to talk about there's a lot of noise, like light and dark and light and dark. But if we take a step back and think about it in much larger shapes, we can make it clear and then kind of have a framework to get into detail, enough detail to, sell it. But we start with these very large, big masses and sort of dial it in that way before we get into detail.
Well, I'll tell you, that changed my life when I started painting that way. And the
Yeah.
other thing that changed it is it sped everything up because,
Yeah.
I was with some people in China and some of them were like nitpicking on every little thing in the beginning, and you say, no,
Yeah.
no, no, get the big shapes in, and then you don't have to nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
Big
Yeah.
difference. All right, well, we're going to get the show officially started. We'll be right back.
Okay.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
I always like these days, Thursdays, because that means tomorrow's Friday. That means Friday means Saturday's coming and get the weekend off. Woohoo! I'm at the lake. It doesn't get any better than this. The weather's getting warm and nice and toasty. So it's time. Tomorrow will be Feedback Friday. Our guest today is Judd Mercer. Judd is truly a rock star painter. Look at some of the artwork that he does. It's pretty incredible. Beautiful, beautiful renderings, beautiful compositions, beautiful execution. And Judd does gouache, and he also does oil. He said he does the smaller things in gouache and the larger things in oil. And let's get right to him right now. You're on, baby.
Hey. All right. I'm going to switch my camera.
Okay.
So we've got this complicated forest scene, and I've got my drawing sort of set up on a grid, but it's pretty simple. It probably looks like nonsense. And the whole point is to just focus on these big key shapes, silhouettes, and those kinds of things. And we're really just going to work on light and dark. And then we'll start to dial into some detail. So I'm just going to go. Now with gouache, I tend to start with what I call like priming.
Priming?
Priming, yeah.
Priming.
It's about like it's essentially toning the paper, but it's also to lay down a layer of chroma that you're gonna probably cover up most of, kind of like an underpainting. And usually I oversaturate a lot of it, and you'll see why when we get there.
So
It's gonna
are
look
you
like a lot
painting,
of
are
mess.
you painting like super thin, like watercolor, or are you?
Yeah, it's pretty thin. It's pretty thin. So we're just trying, because we have toned paper here, we don't have to go too heavy. We can let a lot of that show through and those kinds of things. And the advantage is, if you're plein air or something like that, you can move pretty quickly because it's going to dry. It's going to dry quick anyway, right? Like that's always a challenge with water media. Like I live in Colorado, it's basically a desert. It's horrible to paint outside here. So move fast, let it dry, and then start to layer up things as we go. With gouache especially, that's one of its strengths. So a lot of people don't like that or struggle with how it gets disturbed. It can be temperamental if you try to paint back over it. But if you sort of embrace the layering, it can be quite powerful once you start getting the hang of that. So So basically all I've done here is all of the light sides of these objects. So all these trees in the background, but if you start to squint, all of this light, these warm tones, start to blend into one zone of light, which is exactly what we want. We've already simplified all this noise, and we're not looking at that tree in the distance about what its, light and darks are. It doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. We're just, especially with a scene like this in silhouette, it's much more about these two big zones and then working within that. So keep moving along. Really just focusing on laying down worms, and then we'll get into some detail eventually. So stay tuned for detail. That's always what people want to see, but it's not usually the most important thing. Now this all looks like a mess, but it's not like an oil painting where you're going to get stuck if you layer all this stuff and then it's going to not be dry, and then you go in to put stuff on top, then it's going to get muddy and all of that. Like, it'll dry before you're even done painting it. And so the advantage is you can move really quickly, and especially with beginners or unfamiliar subjects, I don't even want to say beginners, but unfamiliar subjects, you can creep up on the right values. You don't have to have them right the first time. It's a lot less frustrating. So you've never been to the tropics before. What does all that look like? You're like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. It lets you get closer to it with layers. So none of this stuff really matters because I'll be repainting it.
So you have your
Right.
gouache in one of those little boxes. Do you have a way you can focus in on your palette shot for a second?
Yeah.
So your box, I can't tell how big it is, but is it one of those boxes that seals the air out?
Yes, it's 24, and it's got like silicone in the lid here, but I also put a piece of silicone paper on it and then sandwich it down for extra waterproofing.
And so your paintings don't dry out when you're storing them that way.
Yeah, yes, yeah, as much. I mean, they
As
still
much.
will here, but yeah. I mean, they do get moldy occasionally. That's
If you
just
use distilled water, they're less likely to get moldy.
less likely. Yeah, you could spray a little alcohol in it. That helps too a little bit. I don't know. I say this all the time, but I think if you're letting your paints go moldy, you're just not painting enough. Just use them. That's the easiest way to keep them from going moldy. Okay, so we've got like a basic structure, right? It's all blown out, looks crazy, but we see the light very clearly. We see the silhouette roughly of the trees here. Like, that's enough because that's what this scene's about. It's about the silhouette against this. Like, the rock is definitely the focal point, but the overall vibe is like all of this is in sunlight and all of this is in shadow. So now we can start refining some of this. People might notice, like, I'm not very particular with like zones on a palette or whatever. I think it's just warm and cool. It's not about this color and that color. And the more you can reuse, you're just going to get some natural harmony with everything else in the palette. So I'm not too careful with this until it gets to the kind of the final gouache layer. You can get away with a whole lot of color variance. As long as this stays in the same value zone, you can kind of go nuts with color and temperature and shifts in all of that. But if you squint and all that reads as one shape, you're golden. So if you are a fan of exaggerating color, you can. It's a little too light.
Well, give us
You
an
can.
example. I don't want to
Yeah.
mess up your painting, but
Please.
give us an example of what would be outside of the value that would screw up that shape.
Yeah, so like the dappled light, for one thing, if you chase all that too far, it's going to screw this up. There's this one light rock that might be hard to see on the reference, but it's like right here. It's kind of a teal highlight. It's kind of like granite with lichen or something. Like if you went too hard on that, it's going to pop out and you're going to really see it if it was super bright. And that now it feels like a hole that you're going to look at and not be able to look away from. And it kind of destroys this whole shape because it's not about that, right? It's about all of this. And so all of this detail in here needs to be compressed in value, which is really hard to see in, like when you're on location, it's really hard to see that, right? You're chasing, and the longer you look at this, the darks are gonna look darker, the lights are gonna look lighter, and you're gonna zero in on that. And so it's really important to try to stay true to your value plan, which is basically just the shapes, and then kind of respond to the painting, but be tempered while you're looking at the scene and not chase all that stuff, because it will get crazy if you start adding lots of darks everywhere, lots of highlights everywhere, and all that kind of stuff. So like here we can put in a few darks, hinting at the water line, which is usually the darkest thing in a scene like this. Things that are darker that are closer to us. The also nice thing about gouache is like it's gonna dry, like the darks always dry lighter, the lights dry darker. So it's super annoying at first. But what you realize then is that you get a couple of chances to get something right. And so you can kind of ease into your darkest darks and your lightest lights. Again, you can kind of creep up on them. If you're more of an direct oil painter or something like that, and you're really used to a lot of control and you pre-mix your palette, it's going to be super frustrating. But if you can loosen up a little bit, you'll find that it's actually an advantage.
So Julie is asking, you talked earlier about silicone paper to help seal
Yep.
the palette box. I don't even know what silicone paper is. What?
Yeah, it's nothing fancy. It's shoot, I had it somewhere. It's just you can get it on your local giant retailer that ships to your house. And it's like baking paper, right? It's like parchment paper, and it's just coated with silicone. It's really thin, and you can just smash it on there and close your palette. So it's good for traveling. If you fill up your palette and then get on an airplane, it's just an extra little insurance, and it keeps all the wells from bleeding into each other if it's upside down and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so I'm looking it up. It's just parchment paper, essentially.
Yeah. Yep. So once you start putting in a couple of shadows, like bam, like you were already seeing sort of the value shifts sort of work out. And now it's about shape refinement, like in the shadow here, right? And again, like you can add and explore atmosphere, right? We're going to cool things off as it goes towards the canopy to make it feel like it has atmosphere. But all of these tree shapes and all of this, it's like it's still not about this. And so we can be very, very loose. It's about the holes poking through more than anything. And so it's really about the silhouette of this shape to frame up everything else. We don't want to go too far with any of this because we need to do some of the background and all of this. There's some greens in here, some greens in here. So we can stay very loose.
So Judd, why gouache?
Yeah, so I started with watercolor, and I didn't like, eventually I felt like it was a bit limiting for me because I want to paint like oil paint. I want to be able to paint positively and negatively, right? Like carve out shapes like this, right? In watercolor, you couldn't come back and add tree holes without using gouache. So it's a lot of pre-planning that you have to do and really think about that stuff. And I'm not like that when I'm outside. Like I want to just go and not think about it so much. And so gouache lets you do that, kind of paint positively and negatively. And it just has a lot more oomph than you're going to get with something like watercolor, in my opinion. The other thing is I really like, just testing colors here. I really like the um, painting on toned surface. Like to me, going up and down in values versus just going down from watercolor or painting on white with any medium is really helpful. But you need like an opaque medium to be able to go up in value. So you need to be able to like add white essentially and thickness to go up in value. So yeah, that's kind of where I landed on with gouache, just wanting to both have the intensity, be able to recarve edges, that kind of thing. And it just has more punch, honestly.
Now you're also an oil painter.
Yes.
So when do you use gouache? When do you use oil?
Yeah. So gouache is small. It's fast. You know, all my studies and sketchbooks and stuff are in gouache. It's, you know, just faster. It's just faster with everything, more forgiving, but it's got weaknesses on the darks. They're not, you can never get really, really rich, deep darks that you can with oil. Just the drama is not quite there, and the working time. So if your edges are probably gouache's biggest weak point, I would say.
It's hard to soften them.
Yeah, you have to be like right on it. I mean, you can reactivate, and I do a lot of that. Like you're scrubbing out some of this stuff and reactivating some of the edges so that you can wake them up and soften them. But you're never going to get like a foggy scene and be able to reactivate in that way. It's never going to work. So then you're back into like wet into wet, more like watercolor, in which case it's like, well, what's the point? So you're going to have a lot more, like even what I'm doing right now, sort of crispy edges is just part of it. But if you're going to do something more moody, oil's going to definitely be an advantage there. So I like it for that.
Gouache is great for travel. I was telling you off camera that I took it to China because I didn't want to carry my heavy oils and have to worry about solvents and everything else. And,
yeah, 100%.
And it was just so much more lightweight and so much more freeing. And I could paint faster, a lot faster.
100%.
Yeah.
Like the constraints of the medium, like, oh, you know, beginners, they hate the gouache for the dry times and all of this stuff. But once you learn to embrace it, then it's like, well, then you just learn how to paint faster, which is better. It's just more efficient. You're not fussy. You're just like it's like training with weights. It just makes you work a certain way. And then you're like, oh, this is way better. And then you don't have to worry about it as much.
There's a question from Carol.
Yeah.
Is gouache acrylic?
Not really. So, you know, the acrylic is going to have like polymer binders most of the time. It's what gets it to dry in that. I mean, it's plastic, right? Acrylic. Gouache is, it still uses gum arabic, or at least the kind I use does. And so it's not really acrylic. It's more like heavily pigmented watercolor.
Well, if you take a gouache painting and spray a water bottle on it, it will dissolve the paint.
Yes, it will reactivate and be terrible.
You can get gouache made out of acrylic. It dries a little faster, but it's permanent.
Yep, acrylic gouache. Yep, that's a thing.
So there are times, and I use both. There are times when I like acrylic, and some times when I don't. Yeah,
I use it as well. Certain things, like more fun things that I like to do, like I paint comic book covers and that kind of stuff. Like I'll use acrylic gouache. Honestly, I care less about the reactivation or the working time, but more the reactivation. Like if you're doing a lot of layers and you don't want things to get disturbed, that would be the use case for that.
Do you ever spray a fixative on it?
No, I mean, I've varnished it. I've kind of figured all that stuff out. It's a huge pain in the butt, but you can do it. It takes a lot of steps to get it secure and safe and undisturbed, but you can do it. But honestly, I'm leaning away from it because it's just, I don't know, it's such a pain. It's really cool to display them with no frame.
I found a product I can just spray it, and it doesn't seem to screw with the values.
Okay, that's great.
So I just spray it and then throw it in a frame.
Yeah. Yep. If I'm framing it, I don't even bother. I would just say don't touch it to whoever buys it.
My only concern would be a cleaning lady or something spraying.
Yeah,
spraying
sure.
clean.
Sure.
Hello, Austria. Hello, Netherlands. Hello, Italy. Tell us where you're watching from today. If you have questions.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Yeah, there's Germany. Judd is going to be teaching on Gouache Live, which is coming up August 23rd. And what do you have any idea what you're going to be doing then?
A similar thing. Like I'm in Colorado, so I got to represent the Rocky Mountains. But it'll be like a river scene, kind of waves and this, but very similar in the sense of trying to maintain light and shadow, just with a lot more complexity in that demo. It'll be like rapids and that kind of thing. Very dramatic. It's kind of my thing.
Hello, UK. Well, Germany client chimed in. They're there. Hi, Germany.
Nice.
When I was in China, I was surprised that a lot of people in China watch this show.
Oh, that's awesome.
I thought they were restricted, but a lot of people have VPNs so they can watch things they're not supposed to watch.
The dangerous painters.
Yeah, danger.
Seditious. So if you're the kind of person that likes to exaggerate things, this would be like the area that you could pop in some teals, purples, like all that sort of foresty undergrowth that you see in the shadow that comes from the canopy light cascading down. Like this is where you can start to play with a lot of those details. But you just want to keep it from getting too loud, like we talked about earlier.
Hello, Australia, and another one from Austria and Denmark.
Wow. What time is it in Australia? Jeez.
Yeah, I wonder what time it is there. Do either of us have specific tips for composition when painting landscapes?
I can start, or you can start.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I use I have embraced the harmonic armature a lot. It's just a variation on the thirds grid, but it gives you a lot of room for just other types of marks and configuration that it just opens it up from being just kind of your typical layer cake thirds. So I like that personally. It's a very powerful tool. But honestly, when I'm doing plein air, unless it's more of like a formal plein air event where you're like doing work to sell, I honestly don't worry about composition all that much when I'm outside because you got enough problems. And so it's like, if I'm in a country I've never been to, it's like, well, I care about like, what's this? How do I get the tone right of these plants or whatever, like the experience of that place? Like I can compose here in the studio with photos and all my plein air reference and all that stuff. Like I can do that later. So unless I'm like at an event where the whole point is to, do a finished piece, start to finish on location, I'm not really worrying about it outside.
Yeah. Well, I like
to lower the bar.
I like to use my gouache paintings to inspire bigger oil paintings.
100%.
And I can change my composition then.
100%. Like I don't know if you can see it behind me, but like this painting, this oil painting behind me, it's got like, this is probably, I don't know, 2 inches by, this is probably 2 inches by 3 inches, right?
Yeah.
That's my study. Yeah. Like you figure out, that's all you need. And working small, like it forces you to like get it to read at a specific scale. And you could do 20 of those in a day and variate it.
Well, that's the nice thing is so if you're painting in oil and you're committed and you're spending hours on it, all of a sudden, you can get 2, maybe 3 paintings done in a day.
Yeah.
You do it small stuff, it's a lot easier. And gouache
Yeah,
makes
and
it faster.
I don't know, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but like we were talking earlier, like I'm not a full-time artist. Kind of people tend to be surprised by that, but it's like, well, you got so much time in a day, like you could spend it all, like you said, on one, or you could do 10. If you're learning, like reps is better than finished 100% every time. So the more you can do, the better you're going to be. And so, well, how can you do more? It's like, well, you could have more time. Well, maybe that's not going to work. Or you could make them smaller, and then you could do way more with the time that you have. You're going to learn so much more, so much faster. And it just, like I said, it lowers the bar. You're not, when you scale up, you just have other problems to deal with, certain marks and brush efficiency and all that kind of stuff that you just don't have to worry about as much when you're working small.
Here's a question from Carl. With gouache, is it best to bounce around different areas of the painting to paint more of a wet over dry approach? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I mean, you're gonna probably have that depending on where you live. I mean, it's always wet on dry where I live. But if you are on the coast or something with a lot of humidity and you have a bit more time, yeah, let it dry if you're trying to work over something. If you're trying to, if your goal is to adjust something while it's wet, maybe fuzz an edge or something, then you'd want to keep working that area. So it kind of depends. I wouldn't say there's any hard and fast rule around that. I'm also a very erratic, frantic painter, so you don't have to paint like me.
Are you an erratic, frantic person?
Yes.
Ah.
Like I'm always thinking about like 10 things at once.
So you're ADHD.
A little bit, yeah. So if you see my paintings, that might make sense about it. But it's okay because like that's why I like gouache too. Like watercolor, you have to be like watching that bead come down, and like you got to be on top of it and timing and all of this stuff. It's like at a certain point, it just got too stressful for me. It's like a musical performance. It has a start and an end, and once the conductor says go, you're like on, and you gotta stick with it till the end, basically. Whereas I think this is a little bit more forgiving. You could take a break, you can walk away, come back to it. Yeah, I think it has a lot of advantages that way.
Somebody had a question about the differences between acrylic and gouache. They ask if you can mix them, and I think the answer to that is probably no.
You could, I guess. I don't know why you would.
Yeah,
that's not like I'm not being divisive. I'm just saying like why would you do that? It's like they both have fairly similar properties. The only thing I could say, or I have tried, is I've used acrylic gouache as an underlayer, like you do sort of a rough underpainting, and then because it's got the because it's acrylic gouache, it's got the polymer, it's going to dry, lock itself in like a plastic layer, and then you're painting your regular gouache on top. You can fuzz out all the edges without going all the way to the paper, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can kind of mix them that way, but then I don't know, you've got like a whole palette. Don't mix them, and definitely don't use the same brushes. Because you'll get
ruin
your brushes all funky. Yeah.
Okay, so Leah is asking, with gouache, do you use water to clean the brushes?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
And do you paint on canvas or special paper? What brushes do you use?
I should avoid brands. Yes.
Yep. Well, typically, so you're painting on paper.
Yes.
Any particular type of paper?
It's mixed media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
nothing fancy.
So I painted in China. I actually took small, thin canvas panels, and
with gouache, interesting.
With gouache, and they were oil primed, which in the very, very first layer, things beat it up if I had too much water. But they were wonderful because they had that that canvas feel to them. So that was fun. And
Do you
then
get some dry brush texture?
yeah, you
Because of
can do
the
all kinds of
yeah,
things.
yeah.
The other
Yeah.
thing is that there's a particular brand that makes a thin panel on masonite that is very, very smooth acrylic priming, and they're great for gouache painting.
Okay, that's cool.
But then, of course, you know, you're carrying panels, and that's more
Yeah.
weight.
Yep. Like I'm all about as light as possible.
Yeah.
When you're backpacking and it's like, okay, this lake I want to go paint is 6 miles in. It's like, okay. It's like I don't
The
even
other
want
thing
to
that I
carry
found
a
is
pound.
I tend to, even though with oils I use really good brushes, with gouache I tend to use cheap synthetic brushes. What
Yeah,
about you?
synthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like something longer personally. I like flats that are the extended ones. But yeah, synthetic are great. Something a little softer I like because it's easier to blend or
Yeah.
sort of reactivate layers and scrub. But honestly, like again, plein air and all that stuff, like I am not that picky. It is not about the equipment all that much.
Yeah.
It's just get out there and do it.
There's also a paper that's basically a plastic paper.
Yeah.
It's designed for watercolor and some other things. And what's wonderful about it, if you paint with gouache on it, is that you can take a Q-tip, dip it in water, and bring it all the way down to pure white.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
if you want to pull some white out.
Yeah. I think I know what paper you're talking about. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, honestly, I've embraced, again, if I'm not doing a plein air event or something, I've embraced sketchbooks, like literally a sketchbook full of paper, because it makes me not think about selling or finishing or any of
Right.
those things that are distracting outside. It's like
Yeah.
that's not why I'm here. And so it just lowers the bar.
Yeah, that's nice.
Like, yeah. I don't know, something about like panels or something. It's as soon as I start to get formal, I start tightening up and I start worrying about all these things that I shouldn't worry about when I'm out
Well,
there.
it's also, you know, you're spending somewhere between 15 and 30 or 40 bucks a panel. And
Oh yeah.
if you're just gathering information, why not do it on paper?
Yeah. Because then you're like, I got to make this count. This has got to be a good one. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of like, I don't know, psychological tricks for plein air because it's so hard. It's so hard to get comfortable with it. It's just like any trick you can do to make it easier on yourself, you should do it because it's like one of the hardest things to. It's not hard to get comfortable with it, but you just keep getting levels that are harder and harder and harder, and it never feels easier, even if you're getting much, much better at it. And so it's just like, don't make it harder on yourself.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. Judd, why don't you take a break, get a glass of water, and we'll be right back. Our guest today is Judd Mercer, and he's painting in gouache. And it's interesting watching the comments because people are fascinated by it. And I got to tell you that gouache is really hot right now. It's because there's some animators who are talking about it. People like Judd are painting in it. Scott Christensen is painting in it. And it's not, it's not about abandoning, your oils or your watercolors or something else. It's about just doing something that's fun and different and a great way to get references. And I think it's a really great medium for starting to learn painting. Oil's got a whole, I mean, I love oil and I paint mostly in oil, but it's got a whole bunch of different things you got to consider that, beginners, maybe gouache or acrylic, makes it a little easier in some ways. So we've got an event coming up called Gouache Live. It's on August 23rd. So Saturday, it's a full day. It's a very inexpensive day. It's $45 to attend for the full day. We have 7 instructors, plus we're going to have a bonus where I did a gouache demo while I was in China. I had a videographer with me, and I set up on this farm. I walked through how I carry it, what I use in my bag, how I use it all. And so that's going to be a bonus that you're going to get when you sign up for Gouache Live. And it's going to be a terrific day. And you will thank me later, seriously, because learning gouache is going to is going to be a game changer for you. It was for me. I wish I had a picture. I don't think I do. I would have to find it, but I did a gouache paint, did all gouache painting in, well, I did gouache painting and watercolor painting in China. And I did watercolor only because there were times when watercolor would be better than anything else. And actually my gouache painting, my best one I got in, they saw it and they invited me to put it in the permanent collection of this museum. So I was pretty happy about that. That's never happened to me before. And it stood out because it was different, because it was gouache. So anyway, sign up for Gouache Live. You will not regret it. If you can't make it, there are replays. And I got to tell you something. I'm going to throw myself on my sword here for just a second. So I'm in this meeting the other day, and we're talking about feedback. And one of the people on the team said, I've been reading the feedback that we've been getting from our attendees on our virtual events. And there's one thing that's bugging them all. And I said, well, what is that? I didn't catch it. I didn't see it in the feedback. They said, well, one of the problems is that when we put the replays up, it's one big giant file. So you got to watch through the whole thing. So I immediately changed that. So starting with Gouache Live and with everything in the future, there will be individual files and everybody can just watch them one at a time as they need them on the replays. So you don't have to go back and find something. So my apologies for messing that up. I don't know why we did it that way. Probably easier for us than for you, but we changed it. So make sure you get the replays and you can get replays to last as long as up to a year, I believe, if you want to do that. Okay, quickly, we have a free gift for you if you are interested in it. And it's a new ebook. It's called 7 Reasons Gouache Might Become Your New Favorite Medium. And so go to gouachelive.com/7 reasons. Okay, now we're going to get back to Judd Mercer. All right, Judd.
Cool. Yeah, Gouache Live is going to be super fun. There's something really good. You'd be hard pressed to find that roster anywhere together with one day. It's going to be pretty cool. Yeah,
it's going to be pretty great. So talk to me about putting cools in the upper part of the canopy, which is what you're doing now.
Yeah. So anytime you're trying to create atmosphere, you can lighten the value and cool off the value towards the top, which just sort of makes it feel like things disappear, makes it feel airier. Sort of an illusion. I live in a place where there is like zero atmosphere other than dust and forest fires. So I've learned how to exaggerate it. So if you live on the coast or something, you have probably no idea what I'm talking about, but it's there. And yeah, all these little tricks you can exaggerate. But all of that stuff that I'm doing, like, it's not that different than where I was, I don't know, 30 minutes ago. Like, yeah, there's some shadows and stuff, but generally, like, we're still seeing this light shape, the silhouettes, but all of this is staying intact, so that you can get a real sense of the scene. And with Zoom, you're always going to see some distorted colors, because it's probably even a little bit lighter than you're seeing it on the screen. Just the nature of these kinds of things. But yeah, let me see if I can even. Okay. So yeah, lots you can do inside of this one region. Now, like with detail and all of that, when it comes to simplifying, you just need like 10% of what you're seeing, maybe 20, like tree holes or whatever, dappled light. You might see 50 different interactions of light and shadow. You need like 2, and that's going to be enough to get the sense of it. You're creating an illusion, and so we've all seen similar scenes, unless you're painting something super weird that like no one's ever seen before. You can get away with not that much because our brains fill in the rest, and we're used to seeing it, and so you're almost just, it's like an acronym or it's something you're throwing out there, and then people can fill in the rest. So if we're thinking about dappled light, we can throw in a few And that's really all we're going to need to sell the concept. Now, I started with the idea of priming. It's just, I don't know, I just made up that term. But how I think about it is like gouache is layering up. If you paint a strong highlight on a cool, it's going to be white that's like 80% opaque on top of cool, right? And it's going to have this like off cool kind of vibe. If you prime it with some orange and then put your highlight on top, you're going to have something that is way warmer and it's going to feel bright and vibrant and alive. And so I'm always thinking about like 2 or 3 layers deep on, okay, I really want this dappled light or this flower or whatever to be quite vibrant. It's like, okay, start with a warm base layer on my painting, then I'm going to layer up cool, then I'm going to reheat it up, and now I'm going to put white on top. And now it has that kind of chromatic aberration, you know, on the edges of dappled light, it'll get warm and hot on the edges. Just it has that like built-in effect, but by embracing just how gouache works, just layer over it and then go lighter, then go lighter, then go lighter. You get that complicated color math that adds up to something much more believable. Feels tedious, but it's actually not. It's way more efficient to do it that way.
Good to know.
So simplifying, yeah. Detail. So like all this stuff back here, it's like logs and whatever, rocks. If you just have a couple of key shapes, like I don't even know what these things are, right? It's just about popping the silhouette. So just adding some pretty strong marks and junk back there is enough to get it to read.
Highly technical term, junk.
Honestly, it's a lot of noise. You look at really brilliant paintings up close and they're like, what is going on here? And then you stand back and you're like, that's not so bad. And it's kind of what you're doing when you're squinting all the time. You know, you're sort of making it a bunch of junk. Sort of like just, I don't know, anything you can do to remind yourself to look past what you think you're seeing. It's not a rock, it's a triangle of dark. It's a rectangle of thing. It simplifies it. The other nice thing about gouache is like there's this concept of melt. At least that's what I call it. So because it's not a plastic acrylic that clean layers like pieces of glass on top of one another, they sort of melt and fuse into one another. So if you go a little bit with a little bit more water, let's say, I mean a tiny bit of water, you can melt in like this, like a little bit of orange in here to imply that bounce light up in here, right? And I don't have to disturb the underlayer, and I can put it in a little bit more chromatically, and then it's going to melt into it a little bit and dial itself down. So again, you have a little bit of forgiveness there. It's not going to punish you like it would with other mediums where you have to be like dead on. So with all of this stuff, again, simplifying, you see all these like reflected rocks and submerged rocks, which are super cool. The temptation is to chase those and paint all of them. If you just have a few marks here and there, and then we imply it with a couple of shadow marks without going too dark, it'll be all we need to imply that there's stuff submerged under here, right? Again, using that concept of melt, like I can almost go almost the same value as the layer itself, and then just repaint it. And by doing so, it's going to reveal very subtly, right? So that's the one thing about gouache. If you repainted the same exact color over a color, it's going to get darker, right? Because it's still additive. It's not truly opaque, which is super frustrating. Like if you botch a sky or something and you need to tweak it, it's like, oh, I need to tweak that one spot. You got to repaint the whole thing. It's never going to work. So you just kind of have to embrace that. if you want something super clean.
Guys have any questions? Pop them in.
Yeah, please. Gouache, simplifying, anything.
You don't put any glass when you're framing.
I do if I'm not going to varnish it. Yeah. If I'm going to varnish it, then I don't need to, and then I would display it like a oil painting, which is like a whole thing on its.
Hello, Kenya. Welcome.
Wow.
Hello, India. Man, they're just coming in from everywhere. You're such a superstar that you're just drawing them in.
That's amazing. India.
So
I might be going there.
Can you touch on what your process to varnish gouache is? You can't use a wash-based product.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a complicated endeavor. First, you have to spray clear gloss spray, right? But you have to do it very slowly, and you have to build up layers because it's going to be spotty, right? Like spray is not uniform typically. It's sort of scatters, and you can't layer it on too thick. So you do 10 to 12 coats. One coat, rotate it 90 degrees, let it dry. One coat, rotate it 90 degrees, let it dry. So you do that like 12 times. Then you do an isolation layer, like an acrylic isolation layer. So that seals that under layer and then kind of gives you a solid base. And then you can put your final varnish on top. I use a matte varnish, which then kind of returns it to its flat matte quality, which is why a lot of people like gouache in the first place. So it kind of remats it. And then with that isolation layer, then you could revarnish it, pull it off, and put it back on if you needed to from there. But yeah, it's quite the ordeal.
Oh. Hello, Morocco.
Wow.
I think, Judd, we should go to Morocco to paint. I think that'd be
100,000%. It's been on my list, honestly. I would love to go to Casablanca and places like that. See the desert, like real deserts, you know. I think that would be so cool.
Yeah. Unlike Denver deserts.
I mean, alpine deserts is cool, but it's not that desert. It's not like I want to go to Dune, you know.
Question about light fastness. Is gouache light fast?
That's a good question. Without the varnish, no. So your choices are, yeah, museum glass, right, or a pretty high quality varnish. So, but again, for me, it's like sketchbooks and stuff. Like I don't care about that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to be in the dark because it's under another page.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, you know, for more formal painting, I think that's just the advantage is that you don't have to think about this a whole lot if you're just embracing like this is a study medium. I'm just gathering information. I'm not really worrying about how this looks in 100 years. Simplifies a lot of stuff. There we go. Brought it back to simplifying. Little hot spots on that glow. Now with the simplifying details and stuff, again, like rocks and all these like little nuts and bolts, you only need a few. So just a couple of hints of this kind of stuff goes a long way. And you don't have to over render. And usually stopping short is going to make it way more effective.
Well, if you put too many rocks in, it's just going to be busy and it's going to distract.
Yeah. It's just like, you know, is it helping and hurting? So it's like, okay, this is about this glow, all of this, you know, bleary, kind of dusty afternoon light, that kind of thing. It's like now we're in the stage where if I'm looking at my reference, it's like, well, is this going to help me or hurt me by adding this? Is it going to make it better or is it going to make it worse? If you don't have a clear idea of how it's going to make it better, just don't do it. Because it's probably better off the same. I've had so many paintings where I'm like, dang it, I should have just stopped 10 minutes earlier and it would have been much stronger. So like tree branches, leaves, you know, the hint of stuff, you only need a few and it's going to connect with the viewer.
Yeah.
What those things are.
Yeah, don't put in everything you see.
Yeah. But, you know, I want to break up this shape, for example, like, okay, these twiggy type things, I want to show that it's real, right? Like there's a lot of fallen leaves or whatever. Again, stuff you couldn't do without gouache if you were painting in a water-based medium or something like that. Or if you're in oil, you got to wait until this is all dry to do these like fine lines with a rigger brush or something, or a liner. But gouache just dries, so then you can come back and do all these like crispy little details pretty quickly. And like you said, someone walks by when you're doing plein air and you're like, that looks awesome. It's like, yeah, because you can get it to a finished state pretty quickly and not have to wait for certain things. Like, oh, I got to retouch this back in the studio, or I got to wait for this layer to dry before I do my final highlights, or whatever that you would have with maybe oil or water.
Getting a lot of questions about this isolation layer. You said you did an acrylic isolation layer. So that would be spraying it with a varnish and then spraying over it with an acrylic.
I paint it with the isolation layer I paint on.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Oh,
after it's all gloss varnished, then you put the isolation layer on there with a brush.
Oh,
it's kind of just gives it like a shell, and then you can put that final varnish on top of that once it's dry.
All right.
Yeah. Yep. Lots of trial and error.
It would be great to have you back on the show again. We'll definitely do that. But Danielle, you need to go to Gouache Live. You're going to get a lot of gouache instruction if you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're going to get your money's worth. I will be in the audience for all the times I'm not teaching.
Oh yeah, I mean, every one of you paints differently.
Oh, it's great. It's super cool. Sort of like a real fun, sort of exaggerated style. Some folks, some more subdued. It's going to be cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with any medium. You know, there's 1,000 different ways to approach it.
Absolutely.
And this is just a one-day event. You know, Watercolor Live, we do 4 days.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variety. We could probably do 4 days of gouache, but first time out, we're just doing one.
Yeah. Yeah. Next time. Yeah. The only limitation I would see is, and this is just me personally, is just the size. Like scaling up it doesn't work for me. So, you know, if you're wanting to paint large, it's not to say you can't. It's just I think the rules change a bit when you start to scale up.
Well, like how large is large?
I mean, I wouldn't go bigger than 9x12 with gouache personally. I know people do it, but for me, it's just like you start to use a lot more paint. You have to mix up a lot of stuff that is going to dry quick. You have to apply it, and then the larger the areas, like in order to cover it the way I would want to cover it, like I need to use a ton of paint, and it just starts to become more trouble than it's worth.
Do you use a spray bottle to wet your colors at all?
Yes. So I've got one. So I did a big dousing before we started, and then I will do it here and on my palette, especially if I'm outside. I usually have it like I have a paper towel in my offhand that I'm constantly squeezing out my brush like oil painting, and then I usually have a spray bottle in it too.
All right. Cool. All right, we're going to wrap up here in another minute. If you have any final thoughts.
No. Yeah, come to Gouache Live. You're going to see a lot more of this stuff. And if you've never tried it before, like just get some and play around with it. It's easier than you think. So don't be scared. Maybe we'll get it.
What's interesting is that it's very much like oil in the sense that I have a lot of different brands of gouache that I use. Some are really good with certain colors and some are not. And so it's just a matter of experimentation, trying to find out what works for you. So anyway, thank you so much, Judd. You want to come back on camera so we can see you and say goodbye?
Sure.
Somebody said they're using a Hemi spray to suppress mold. That's interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up.
Well, Judd, thank you so much. We'll make sure we've put all of your contact information in the chat so they can find you, your website. They can go buy your paintings, attend your workshops, whatever you're doing. Cool. And we really appreciate you doing Gouache Live. We're excited about it. You're also going to be in person in the Ozarks at the Plein Air Convention, which is coming up in, May.
May, yeah. That'll be fun. I've never been there.
Oh, it's going to be beautiful. And We actually we've got a problem, and the problem is that the hotel is much smaller. So we have 2 hotels we're taking over for sure, and probably a third. So anybody who gets, they need to get in and get booked for the main hotel before long, because it'll be gone. I think we've already sold 400 or 500 seats. So you guys make sure you get in there, get booked. It's going to be amazing. And Ozarks is going to be busy because it's in the middle of the country. Well, Judd, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was awesome. All right. Okay, well, our guest was Judd Mercer, and you can see him on Gouache Live. It's going to be pretty terrific. We have a free gift for you. I want to remind you, it's our new ebook on gouache, 7 reasons gouache might become your new favorite medium. Gouache, go to gouachelive.com, 7/7 reasons, and grab that now. Make sure you subscribe to this program. We're here every weekday at 12 noon. We have been for over 5 years now. When COVID began, we kept going every weekday, and we're up to over 18.2 million views. That's pretty cool. Worldwide audience, which is pretty cool. So make sure to tell your friends. We'd love to have you. And most importantly, we have had people from all over the world learn how to paint from this program. Now we have resources. We can take you to the next level and the next level. You know, we have in-depth video instruction at painttube.tv, where we have over 700 of the top videos ever made, professionally produced, some of the world's top artists. And we're also on your Roku, your Apple TV, your Amazon Fire, your smart TV on Samsung and others. And so make sure that you check that out, because if you want to get serious about something and go to the next level, that's a great place to do it. We appreciate you guys tuning in today, and we will see you tomorrow. Will be Feedback Friday, and yes, it'll be Friday. Woohoo! I think I'm going to go painting this weekend. Maybe take part of Friday off and go painting, and maybe Saturday. Who knows? All right, guys, have a terrific day, and thank you again to Judd.